Hi everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Baby Bunting Live Series, Season 2. I'm Jessie and I'm here with our National Installation and Services Manager, Arron, and we're going to be discussing car seat safety with a specific focus on rearward-facing. Arron, can you tell us a little bit about your role with Baby Bunting and what the installation team do?
Hi Jessie, and hi viewers. Yes, Baby Bunting have a team of dedicated team of professional, passionate, accredited installers across the entire network at every location, and we're there to educate, advise and install restraints for parents, trying to make that as a positive experience as possible and guiding them through the sometimes perplexing area of child restraints.
And I know lots of parents who have mentioned that anxious feeling that they get when they're driving home from the hospital. They've got their newborn, so they're driving home for the first time, and it's quite an overwhelming and anxious experience. Now, is that something you hear quite often?
I've experienced it myself with having a few children, but absolutely it is. It's probably the most nerve-wracking journey of your life. You're driving home 10 kilometres under the speed limit, hoping there's no one else on the car, and thinking to yourself, have I got everything right? Is that child, is that precious bundle in the back secured properly? You may have mum sitting in the back with her holding the seat. I wish I could bottle that emotion and that sense of protection. I wish I could bottle that emotion and you could have a sniff of it every time you go for a drive with your child. It doesn't matter if they're 1 day or 1 year or 10 years. A child deserves to travel in optimum safety. And unfortunately, from my experience and statistics back up, some statistics suggest that 70 to 80% of people aren't getting it correct. That's either choosing the wrong restraint, installing it incorrectly, or misusing it.
Wow, that's absolutely shocking. I guess, so seeking professional advice must be really important then, goes without saying.
I believe it is, absolutely, because this is a parachute for infants and you want it to operate at 100% of its capability. If you went into a shop and bought a parachute, you wouldn't say, can I have the minimum parachute, or if you got on a plane, your parachute was operating at 95%, you would be woefully disappointed because just at the moment you need to work. That's the important picosecond that it needs to in that accident or that collision. So professional intervention is really important because not only you be confident that you install it properly, you're going to understand its functionality. You're going to understand when it's time to move to the next stage, how you adjust it, what are all the features and functions, and really be confident because when you come out with that little bundle, that first day as we're saying how anxious you are, and you go, how does that go in there? It just reduces that anxiety and you have an idea, someone's walked you through that process.
Yeah. And I guess when you say moving to the next stage, one frequent question that we are asked by customers quite a lot is how long is an infant to remain rear-facing?
In order to answer that properly, I really should explain how a seat works rearward-facing.
Correct.
Infants are fragile. They have a disproportionate head to their body. Sometimes 25% of their body mass is head. So imagine if our head to 25% of our body mass, I probably wouldn't be able to stand up. And their necks are weak. So we need to offer them even greater protection because they're more vulnerable to the risks of an accident and the forces in an accident. So why is a child rearward facing? The seat is inclined and designed to absorb the shock. Seats redirect, absorb and position the child in the right way so their head, their spine and their torso are all in line. So a greater area of their body is taking the forces because in an accident there's rapid deceleration and a lot of forward energy. So the child is being pushed into the seat and maintaining that spine in a straight line. As soon as you turn a child forward facing, yes, the seat still absorbs shock and the belts are there to restrain them going across the hard parts of their body, but their head is no longer restrained. So all that energy that was pushed into the seat and absorbed is now being directed to their spine and their head. Their head will go forward, and that head being 25% of their body mass, it's a lot of weight on a small and fragile body. And
what is Baby Bunting's recommendation on rear facing, and why is it different to Australian law? Sorry.
Good question. The law is the minimum standard we should be adhering to. And as we said, when it comes to child safety, that we shouldn't be, our benchmark shouldn't be the minimum, the benchmark should be the maximum. Baby Bunting are so passionate about child restraint, we've taken a best practice approach. And we took the bold move of saying we won't turn a child around until they're at least 12 months and they meet the height requirement, which we'll show you in a minute. We're going to greater detail. But at least 12 months until they meet the height requirement. And generally, a child won't meet that height requirement until at least 18 months.
And I know we covered, how long infants should remain rear-facing, but how long should a child remain rear-facing, Arron?
Seats are designed to take a child up to 30 months rearward-facing. So we're saying the law suggests that 6 months is the minimum. If a seat has the capacity, and there are extended rearward-facing seats on the market, and again we're going to a few features of this in a second, but it goes up to 30 months. If you choose to turn a child round ill-advised at 6 months, you're only using the seat to 20% of its capacity. So seats can go up to 30 months rearward-facing, or the upper height marker, and again we'll show those height markers in a second.
Speaking of height markers, another area of confusion is the height markers on the inside of the seat. So can you provide some clarity around that?
I did mention them a couple of times, so it's good that we actually show where they are.
Yes.
We ask parents when they make an appointment, has your child met the first height requirement? And we often get the answer yes, but people aren't even aware where they are on the seat. They are hidden. So when you bring the child home in the infant mode, the height markers aren't visible. As soon as you start to extend the seat, you start to reveal these height markers on the side. You know you have an extended rearward facing seat if you have 3 height markers. There are other seats on the market that only have 2 height markers, when to turn around and when to leave the seat. This has the minimum height required before you can consider turning them around, the maximum you can leave them rearward facing to, and then when a child transitions into another type of seat, the next stage of seat, we suggest that you work from there up. So that's what we're aiming for. That's the minimum safety, the maximum safety, and maximum safety is what we're aiming for.
Okay, and what about the padding, Arron? Are there rules around the padding?
It's a very good question. The infant padding is there for, as it says, when they're an infant. When they come home from hospital, they need the additional padding. But as they approach this height marker, that padding can be removed easily, he says. And we want to measure the child, their torso height, from here to here without the padding in. So then you're getting a full understanding and a full representation of their torso. And as you can see, that's a considerable torso. Very few children, if any, are going to reach that at 6 months, and then a greater proportion will reach it at 12 months, but still less than 50% of children will reach that at 12 months. And then we can go beyond that to keep a child in the maximum safety for as long as possible.
And what advice would you give to those parents who are experiencing a curious child wanting to maybe turn around or maybe face the world a bit sooner?
I fully understand that because we've all experienced that. When a child isn't that happy facing the rear of the car, the day you turn around and they face the front is a beautiful day. Everyone's giggling, everyone's laughing, but you need to weigh that up against the change you've made in their safety. You've made a dramatic change in their safety, as I said, from going from a seat that absorbs the shock, turning them forward facing, to their heads unrestrained. So if you weigh up the factors of they're not enjoying it, they're not as happy as they could be, or I'd like to see them, if you weigh those up against the factors of the safety reduction, it's a clear and simple choice to me. You just keep them rearward, and it's really important.
Very true. And what advice would you give to parents who are struggling with having that space in the back seat of their car?
Just to go back to a point, sorry, we're talking about rearward facing, just came to me. There's always the option of putting up a mirror and having that interaction with the child. And every week, every month, they're developing, they're growing. So if you can postpone that turning around by putting an additional mirror or putting in a mirror with bells and lights on it to entertain them, it's just really important. Every month, every kilo, every week that they stay rearward facing is a chance for them their bones to start to fuse, their muscles to start to bond,
strengthen,
and their head to start to becoming more proportional with their body. The other point, sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's absolutely fine. Those parents who need greater space in the back of their car, what advice would you give to them? Because obviously space can be a bit of a tricky one for those who need to keep their child rearward facing for longer.
It's a great question because seats are getting bigger and cars are getting smaller. We're moving towards more eco-friendly cars that have a better fuel consumption. We're making them smaller, and a seat does occupy quite a bit of space in the car. If you use a seat to its extended capacity, the side impact protection or the head protection here does extend outside the shell, which will impact on the occupant in the car, making that seat go forward and making that drive less comfortable. But again, weighing up the factors, reducing their safety for more space in the front. Again, it's a simple and clear choice. Keep them rearward longer. It's very important.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And you just mentioned it before, but I guess what about the passenger seat and can that touch or not?
We suggest it doesn't, just a small gap for a couple of reasons. One, you want to make sure this seat is independently solid. And when we fit a seat, it really is very solid, be that by Isofix or seatbelt. It really needs to be nice and secure to the car. If the seat's squashed up against it, the front seat, the front occupant's seat, you then lose the ability to say if someone unclips that and it's came loose, you don't know it's come loose because it's being held in by the front seat, and if you're unfortunate enough for that collision to occur, the seat's not secured as it should be. And the other issue is if someone jams a seat up against it, you can alter the angle of the seat. So you want that to have a nice clear space. It does encroach on the front seat, but again, it's really important that we keep them rearward facing.
Of course, and I guess overall, Arron, what bit of advice or what would you say to our viewers to take out of this segment this evening?
Yeah, look, I believe being a parent, being a carer, being a grandparent, being an aunt, being an uncle is a privilege. So we need to repay that privilege by carrying our children in the safest possible position every second we're on the road. So parents, carers, everyone who's affected in travelling around with children, to take the time, be patient. Don't move children on to seats or move them into the next stage until it's appropriate to do so. Whether that's forward to rearward, rearward to forward, whether that's from an internal harness to a seatbelt, whether that's out of a booster into an adult seatbelt, there is no hurry. You hold children back, keep them in there till the absolute maximum of capacity of the restraint. Because, say, a child who's not restrained properly they're not built like an adult. They're not the same structure. So an adult seatbelt won't protect a child. An adult seatbelt would protect an adult. But slow down, be patient. Time passes quickly. This year has flown by. This year has absolutely flown by with all the challenges we've had. It's still flown by. I say I've got 5 children. I wish they were smaller. I wish I spent more time. They're all this tall now. So if you look back, you think, well, keeping a child rearward facing that a little bit longer, really, it's essential. It might make the difference in a collision, and slow down. The other bit of advice I'd give people is do seek professional advice. It's so often that people make small mistakes, large mistakes, but it just gives you that extra level of comfort knowing it's 100% right. It really is important. It takes the anguish and the confusion out of that first drive. Someone spent the time to show you how this works. There's also, we've got some follow-up videos online that support our parents when they're in the car park trying to put that little bundle in. But someone spent the time, and you can be confident that drive home won't be so anxious. It won't be so fraught with stress, because you're confident that you understand how it works and you're confident it's right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Arron, for sharing all your tips and explaining the importance of extended rearward facing. I think I'd like to throw to Nat to let us know if there are any questions from our audience this evening.
Yep, Joyce has said that she has a 9-month-old baby and she has a car seat that doesn't quite adjust like the one you've just demonstrated. Is that still okay?
It doesn't have I would, again, without knowing the type of seat that Joyce has, 9 months is I would suggest too young to go forward facing. Do visit one of our stores and get advice from one of our team. Book an appointment and we'd be happy to walk her through that.
And Ashley has said that she's purchased her car seat and would like to know your advice on when she should get it fitted into her car. Very
good question. We're actually going to cover this next week in one of our sessions. We suggest early, because you never know when a baby's going to arrive. 4 weeks early would be a good time, because then you're prepared, it's comfortable, there's no panic, there's no running around when you're in hospital and dad's hunting around to see if he can get an appointment. just be prepared. It's one of those things to tick off your list, like packing your bag for the hospital, have your seat fitted, you understand how it works. You've even got some time to practice with a doll. So when you come out of hospital again, it's just that little bit of familiarity.
And Krista has asked, she has the Britex Millennia car seat. Her child is 14 kilos and is rearward facing. She's found that the straps are harder to tighten when he's in the seat, but seem fine when he's not in the seat. Is that okay?
I'll give you was it Krista?
Yes.
I'll give Krista a tip, and if she may already be doing this. When you try and pull it around the child and you're pulling through the buckle around the child's clothes, there is some resistance. Put your hand behind first, pull the belts there, get them nice and snug around the child, and therefore that makes it so much easier to tighten then. And the reverse, when you get the little one out, press the button, loosen from behind first, and leave it ready for when you come back. It's a lot less stressful. It means you're adjusting him to every day, no matter whether they're wearing a jumper or a t-shirt. It's going to be nice and snug, 2 fingers between their chest and the belts.
Joyce has asked if Baby Bunting offer car seat checks.
We do.
And what is the cost associated with those?
We do a visual check, and a visual check unfortunately means we just look at your seat. We can, and our team are so experienced they can tell from here whether anything's wrong. And the visual check, if we identify anything's wrong, there's a $45 charge.
Thank you so much, Arron. It was really wonderful having you on this evening. And I think next week, you mentioned earlier, we've got another great episode planned. So tune in next Wednesday at 7:30 for another episode of the live series. And thank you for watching this evening.
Thank you, Jessie. Thank you.